Alright guys, you remember the video from last week where we talked about the angle changing with your sharpening knives on the fixed pivot point type knife sharpener? Sharpeners like the Lansky's or the Wicked Edge, the TS Prof. In that video I made a very convincing argument that that angle changes the further you get away from the pivot point. That is wrong. I lied to you. The angle does not change. Now 95% of the comments sided with me like, I knew it, I knew this was true, I'm so glad you explained it so clearly. Well, I really clearly explained a lie and just an incorrect way of looking at the situation. I was applying like a three-dimensional solution to a two-dimensional problem. Let's take a look at this real quick. So we were using the TS Prof angle finder to say, oh yeah, that angle, you know, you see the angle changing as you move it along. That's correct, that's true. And then we are also doing some triangles and using trigonometry and saying that, you know, if you move the two sides and they get longer or shorter, these angles have to change, and that's still true. That all happens, right? But the thing is that when you measure the bevel of a knife, you must measure it perpendicular or 90 degrees to the plane of the knife. That is the part that I entirely missed. So simple, and why did I miss it? Now, one comment I got that just made this instantly make sense to me is a gentleman said, you know what, think about the pitch of the roof of your house. If you were to stand on the ridge of your roof, nail in a 2x4 so you create that same type of arm thing that you have with these sharpening systems. Now, if you move it all the way to the far end of your roof, yes, that angle, that triangle you've created is different now. But the pitch of the roof is still the same, right? So that's the same thing with the TS Prof. We can create all these weird triangles and, you know, grow two sides of the triangles, and the intersection angle from these triangles does change the further away you get from the pivot point. But the slope, the pitch stays the same. That's how you need to look about it. The angle is always measured perpendicular 90 degrees to the spine, the plane of the knife. And that is the part that really is kind of like, what? Anyways, I'm going to jump to the workbench. I'm going to show you a few more demonstrations. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to try and set my camera up like right in line with that piece of tool steel that we used last week. And I'll freeze the frame right here, and then I'll do like an overlay so you'll see the sharpener move, and you'll see that indeed when you look directly down the knife, or the piece of steel in this case, that angle doesn't change. Doesn't matter what the dial indicator readings say, doesn't matter what this triangle does. That angle, just that simple angle, does not change. Another example I'll show you is we're going to take three pieces of dental floss. I'm going to tape them from the same point on the sharpener and to different points on the blade. So we have 1, 2, 3. We're going to end up with three different angles coming in there, 90 degrees, and then a couple of triangles. But when we look down along the plane of the knife, we're going to see that that angle, they're all exactly the same. So that's what we're seeing. This is through the camera. So this is what we're looking at. This is what we'll be filming. And I've tried to get it so that that piece of tool steel is right in line with this lens. Now it's a little difficult, so it might not be perfect, but the next demonstration after this we'll do should show it as well. So what I'll do, I'll start the camera right here, and then we'll freeze this frame, and then I'll just overlay some footage going back and forth, and I think it will be quite clear that that angle remains very, very much constant. If there's any errors, it's because of what we're picking up with the camera. So let's just turn this on, hit record. Okay, so here we go. All the way to the end. Now there's a little flex probably because I'm pushing down. All right, so now we're in the big camera, and you see how that angle remains relatively constant. Doesn't matter where you go, that angle does not change. All right, and for the next demonstration, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to find a point on here, probably go from here, move this out of the way. I'm just going to take three pieces of dental floss, and I'm going to tape one to here, one to here, one to here. All right, for this demonstration, we've got three pieces of dental floss tied on. Obviously represents different positions that your sharpener is in. And the reason we're using the TS Prof is just because it's the biggest. It's kind of the easiest to see. But I mean, all of these fixed pivot point sharpeners work under the same principle. But this one's just very easily to see on camera. So this one here is roughly right in line, pretty much 90 degrees to the plane of the knife. Clearly this one is not, nor is this one. And this is here, that big triangle that we were talking about. Basically, this right here is the diagram I drew when I lied to you. Okay, so we see these different angles, yeah, and by the logic we looked at in the last video, this would be proof that the angle changes that we're sharpening to. But remember, we're measuring our bevel in this plane. So if we look down along the knife, get right even with it down here. Like, okay, I need to make sure I do this right, but you see, when we get as close as possible that this is level, obviously if I'm up here, it doesn't line up. If I'm down below, it doesn't line up. But if we come, so they line up, now we're looking pretty much right flat on the blade, and all three of those strings are in line. Does that make sense? Like when you look perfectly, you measure perfectly in line with this, those strings are all in line. That angle is the same here, here, and here. All right, guys, what do you think about that? My hope is that that did as good of a job convincing you that the angle stays the same as my previous video did convincing you that the angle changes. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Also, one thing I'd like to know is what should I do with that other video? I've had quite a few comments, people saying, oh, take it down. You know, you should take this video down, it's incorrect information, and I agree with that. On the other hand, in that video, I kind of left it open. I said, if you can prove me otherwise. So I know a lot of people have taken the stance that, you know what, I'm sorry, you're incorrect. There's a lot of great dialogue in the comments below, so I'm not sure if I should leave that up or take it down. Let me know what your thoughts are. I've retitled that video and I've put some new descriptors in there kind of saying, you know what, this is incorrect. I've also linked this video with the correct way to look at this. And the biggest part we were missing with this whole thing is that we were not measuring the angle at 90 degrees to the plane of the blade. That's it. It's really that simple. Anyways, guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. I really hope it cleared it up. If you liked it, give a thumbs up. Be sure to subscribe to the channel. I'm sorry for lying to you. Thanks for watching, guys. Cheers.